I'm James Taylor, and you're listening to the SuperCreativity Podcast, a show dedicated to inspiring creative minds like yours. Hello, and welcome to this week's solo episode of the SuperCreativity Podcast. Today, we're exploring something that might seem a little unconventional, but is actually backed by science. How the temperature around us affects our ability to think creatively. Now, you might be asking, James, isn't creativity all about ideas, inspiration? What does room temperature have to do with it anyway? Well, as it turns out, the temperature that we work and live in can have a surprising impact on the quality of our creative output. Let's set the stage. Over the years, researchers have investigated how environmental factors, that's things like lighting, noise, and yes, temperature, shape our cognitive performance. Creativity, as a cognitive process, is no exception. Studies have shown that extreme heat or cold can impair our ability to think clearly, to make decisions, and to generate ideas. So what's the Goldilocks zone for creativity? When temperatures drop, your body has to work harder to produce glucose, the primary energy source for your brain. That means less energy is available for complex thinking, including the creative and critical processes that we rely on. Similarly, in hot conditions, your body diverts resources to cooling itself, leaving less bandwidth for your brain to operate at full capacity. So where does creativity thrive? Researchers suggest the optimal range for cognitive performance is between 22 degrees Celsius and 24 degrees Celsius, that's 72 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. At this just right temperature, we feel thermally comfortable, neither too hot nor too cold, allowing our brains to fully focus on creative tasks rather than regulating body temperature. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Temperature doesn't just impact how well we think, it also influences how we think. Warmer environments tend to encourage divergent thinking, which is ideal for brainstorming, exploring new ideas. Cooler spaces, on the other hand, are better for convergent thinking, where you focus, you analyze, and you refine your options. Imagine the creative potential of tailoring your workspace, your office temperature to suit the task at hand. This insight has fascinating implications for how we design workspaces. For example, you could set up a slightly warmer room for brainstorming sessions to stimulate free-flowing ideas. Then, when it's time to refine and implement those ideas, switch to a cooler, more focused environment. Small change, but one that could have a big impact on creativity and productivity. Now, of course, individual preferences do matter. What feels just right for me might not work for you. This month, I'm working on my first draft of my upcoming book, SuperCreativity. And I'm working from this little cabin in the Scottish Highlands. With winter temperatures dropping as low as minus 11 degrees Celsius, that's 12 degrees Fahrenheit, I've had to tweak my creative routine to adapt to the cold. I take longer, warmer baths and showers during the day to kickstart my divergent thinking. Later, I head to my study, where I keep it at a cool 16 degrees Celsius, that's 60 Fahrenheit, a perfect environment for focused writing and editing. Now, contrast this with the time that I used to live in Dubai or Bangkok, where the heat was so intense, I could barely think creatively outdoors during the day. So I'd save my creative walks for the cooler evenings. But I have friends who thrive in warmer climates and swear their best ideas come when just sitting, sunning themselves on a beach. This variability reminds us that personal and cultural adaptation plays a key role in how temperature affects creativity. But let me take a quick detour into the world of artificial intelligence here, because it offers a fascinating metaphor. In AI, there's a concept called temperature that governs how creative or conservative an algorithm's outputs are. A higher temperature setting produces more varied and unconventional responses, while a lower setting keeps the results predictable and precise. Similarly, as humans, we can tweak our environments to align with the type of thinking that we need, divergent or convergent thinking. So what is the takeaway here? Start paying attention to how temperature influences your own creative flow. Experiment. If you're a leader, think about how to optimize the thermal environment for your team. Small adjustments like tweaking the thermostat can have outsized effects on creative performance. Before we wrap up, Here's a thought to leave you with. Creativity isn't just about inspiration. It's about creating the right conditions for ideas to thrive, both inside your mind and in the world around you. And as we've explored together today, temperature is a key part of that equation. Thank you for tuning in to this solo episode of the SuperCreativity Podcast. And if today's topic resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Are you at your most creative in a cozy, warm setting? Or do you thrive in the crisp chill of a cooler space? Let's continue this conversation in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep experimenting, even if it's just with a thermostat. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe to the SuperCreativity Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. While you're there, leave us a review. I would really, really appreciate it. I'm James Taylor, and you've been listening to the SuperCreativity Podcast.